Welcome back. We have Arsenal through to the Champions League semi-finals for the first time since 2013 after a sensational 2-0 win over Bayern Munich at the Emirates. We have Jess Creighton here for us to get a bit more reaction to that and discuss if Chelsea can actually join them in the last four. There's so much to talk about as well. We've got inside the WSL as well. You don't want to miss that, but good job. Arsenal didn't miss out, because what a night it was for them. A team that was, I mean, they were written off not so long ago, weren't they? Could anyone have predicted this? And actually, what will a result like this mean for the women's game in this country overall?
Yeah, what a turnaround for Arsenal. As you rightly say, there were doubts, big doubts over this team and what they could achieve this season. After they lost to Manchester City in the WSL last month, people thought, oh, maybe their title hopes and their title race might be derailed by that. Then they got dumped out of the FA Cup by Chelsea, but they've absolutely turned it around. In the last couple of weeks, they've had some really big results. They won the League Cup, of course, their first trophy for 4 years. Then they thrashed Spurs in the North London derby. And now they are through to the Champions League semi-finals for the first time in a decade. For 10 years, they've been trying to get to this stage of the competition and they haven't managed it, but they did last night. And it wasn't just a result, but the performance, Hayley, was absolutely exceptional. They were full of energy. They were full of intensity. There was so much quality. So many players showed up on the biggest stage. And you ask what this result might mean for English football in the women's game. It's absolutely massive because, as I say, no English team has won the European competition, the Champions League, since 2007. It was Arsenal. There's only been one and only British team to do that. And for Arsenal to put on that performance at the Emirates in front of a record crowd for a European game in women's football in England was phenomenal. Mikel Arteta, the men's manager, was in the crowd. Club legend Ian Wright was in the crowd as well. The sporting director, Edu. And the Arsenal players just put on a performance. And Hayley, I must say, if you haven't seen their first goal, the strike by Frida Martin, please look it up. It's absolutely sensational. And the layoff from Leah Williamson was beautiful. Honestly, it was such a great performance. Ticks in every single category for Arsenal, and they will be full of confidence now.
They will, and so confident. Could they potentially win 3 trophies? I mean, they're in the mix.
In the mix.
So that League Cup final,
yep.
Obviously you mentioned, over Chelsea early this month. I mean, is a treble a realistic possible? If you're going to dream big, right?
They will be dreaming big because of that result last night. They'll think now, well, you know, who can beat us? We can come up against anyone. They came up against the Bayern Munich side, who were no slouches. They had won 14 games in a row, Bayern Munich, going into that match. They're top of their domestic league. They hadn't lost a game in all competitions since November, but they managed to turn around that deficit, Arsenal, last night. That's how phenomenal that performance was. Is a treble realistic? Now, realistic's an interesting word. I'm not sure realistic is the word I would use, but it's certainly possible. They've already wrapped up the League Cup. We look at the other competitions that they're competing for, the WSL, where they're currently 4th. They are 3 points off the leaders, Manchester United, but they do have a game in hand. Now, Arsenal go into this weekend in a massive game against Manchester City, also going for the title. They can't afford Arsenal to drop any points, neither can Manchester City. So it's still up in the air about the WSL title and whether they can achieve that. They are probably outside favourites, but they're still very much in the mix. Then you look at the Champions League. OK, brilliant performance last night, but they're through to the semi-finals. They come up against PSG or Wolfsburg in that semi-final. PSG knocked them out a couple of seasons ago at the quarter-final stage, and then Wolfsburg knocked them out last season. So these teams have previous with Arsenal. It's not going to be easy. I think the only thing battling against Arsenal at this point is squad depth. They've already lost Beth Mead, they've already lost Viv Miedema, and worrying scenes last night in that Champions League quarter-final because Katie McCabe and Kim Little both hobbled off the pitch. After the game, I saw pictures of Katie McCabe on crutches with a boot on her left foot. Not great for Arsenal. They need to keep as many players fit as possible if they're going to have any chance of a treble. Look, Arsenal fans, I'm not saying it's not off the cards. I'm just saying that it will be difficult, but dream big, why not?